This is the axolotl, or Abistoma mexicanum, an amphibian native to Lake Xochimilco in Mexico. Pretty cool, right? Well, it's actually critically endangered.
Before we talk about the endangerment status of axolotls, we should first learn more about them, and we'll be doing so with this axolotl here.
Pablo.
Axolotls are relatives of mole salamanders, meaning that they're also relatives of northwestern salamanders, tiger salamanders, and spotted salamanders. You can see the similarities between axolotls and salamanders through salamander larvae. This is a salamander larva. And this is an axolotl. Pretty similar, right?
Axolotls inhabit still water lakes and are only found in one specific freshwater lake, Mexico's Lake Xochimilco. It is located around this area. These creatures can typically be found in freshwater habitats which are rich in aquatic vegetation, such as algae and even water lilies. Predators of the axolotl also pose a threat to the species, such as birds and many types of fish, as well as animals that compete with the axolotls for food like carp and tilapia. Axolotls are also commonly found in areas with lots of other aquatic invertebrates, including crustaceans, insects, and mollusks, which they eat.
The climate in Lake Xochimilco is around 63 Fahrenheit in the winter, around 72 Fahrenheit in the spring, the hottest being in May at around 74 Fahrenheit. In the summer, the temperatures are slightly lower at around 69 Fahrenheit, and finally, in the fall, the temperatures are around 64 degrees Fahrenheit. The precipitation near Lake Xochimilco is very low from late fall until early spring. It averages around 3 centimeters or 1.2 inches at the time, but slowly increases until it peaks in June at around 41.4 centimeters or around 16.3 inches.
Axolotls are poikilothermic and ectothermic. Therefore, these creatures are cold-blooded and rely on the temperature of the water around them to regulate their body temperature. Their ideal body temperature is around 60-65 degrees Fahrenheit, and if the axolotl is too cold, their metabolic rate begins to slow down, and if it's too hot, the metabolic rate speeds up.
Axolotls are strict consumers, carnivores to be exact. Their diet most commonly consists of numerous insects, worms, crustaceans, mollusks, and even a few small fish species. Axolotls hunt by smell, and after locating their prey, they camouflage themselves into the environment. When the perfect moment arrives, axolotls will snap at their prey and suck them into their mouths, similar to a vacuum machine.
Axolotls have numerous adaptations that increase their fitness and help them survive. One adaptation would be their incredible regenerative ability. When they are injured by predators, they can regenerate and regrow limbs and even organs like their spinal cord, their heart, and even parts of their brain.
Axolotls also have an adaptation called neoteny, which causes them to keep their juvenile characteristics even into adulthood. Some of these characteristics include their gills and their short limbs. Although it may not seem too significant, neoteny is a very important adaptation for axolotls. In order to understand why, we have to look at salamander larvae, which evolve into terrestrial land animals. Axolotls would morph as well, but the lakes they lived in were very stable, and going onto land would be more dangerous for them. Therefore, they stayed in a larval form and did not morph to go onto land. However, if under harsh enough conditions and exposed to certain hormones, axolotls can still morph into land animals, like this one here.
A behavioral adaptation would be that during the day, axolotls will burrow into the substrate of their environment to avoid being eaten by predators.
A structural adaptation of the axolotl would be their cone-shaped teeth. Since axolotls suck food into their mouth, their cone-shaped teeth grips onto the food and aids with the feeding process.
All axolotls reproduce sexually, and they become sexually mature at around 18 months. Once they are sexually mature, the males will perform a courtship dance for the female. Once the male axolotl is finished with the courtship dance, the female will take in the sperm capsule that has been deposited by the male axolotl. The eggs will then fertilize internally. Once the eggs hatch, the axolotls provide no care for their children whatsoever. The baby axolotls are on their own.
Now that you know more about axolotls, it's time to talk about their endangerment status. But first, Axolotls provide provisionary services by being eaten by storks and herons, their natural predators. The axolotl's consumption by invasive species like carp and tilapia does not count as a provisionary service.
Axolotls also help regulate the populations of other animals. By eating worms and mollusks, axolotls help provide a regulating service for the ecosystem.
There are less than 1,000 axolotls, and the main reason why they are going endangered is because of habitat loss, habitat pollution, and the introduction of invasive species. Axolotls used to be at the top of the food chain, but the introduction of invasive species like tilapia and carp caused them to lose that position. The tilapia and carp compete with the axolotl for food and even try to eat them.
Humans have also contributed in the endangerment of axolotls by polluting the lake axolotls live in. Axolotls have permeable skin, which causes them to soak in this pollution and die from it. Humans caused immense habitat destruction by draining Lake Texcoco, which was a combination of 5 lakes that the axolotls lived in, and the original home of the axolotls. Axolotls lived in most of these lakes, but now they cease to exist in all of them, aside from the canals of Lake Xochimilco.
While the axolotl is critically endangered in the wild, many researchers and other environmentalists are trying to protect the axolotl's dying population. Another thing is that there are many organizations, such as the Darwin Initiative, which help fund money to save the axolotls. On January 4th, 2002, the Darwin Initiative gave Dr. Richard Griffiths and Durrell Institute of Conservation and Ecology, also known as Kent University, over $100,000 to help fund a project to help conserve axolotls in the wild. His team spread awareness all through education programs, public meetings, and more. He also started a program where they train boatmen to show and educate the tourists about the axolotls around Lake Xochimilco.
Mexican farmers also help save the axolotl's environment by creating chinampas, a traditional Aztec farming structure which serves as sanctuaries for axolotls. They use mud to create a barrier and then also plant aquatic plants which help clean and purify the water. These benefits allow for a safe place for the axolotl to live.
Axolotls are the center of a lot of medical research. They are unique in a way that they have one of the best regenerative abilities of all amphibians. They are able to regenerate lost limbs or organs to near perfection within 40 days and also are very resistant to cancer. They are about 1,000 times more resistant to cancer than most mammals. Humans are researching about the axolotl's regenerative abilities in hopes of applying them to modern medicine. The extinction of wild axolotls could result in the loss of a significant opportunity for medical research advancement for humans.
So yeah, axolotls are amazing creatures, and it would be very nice if they didn't go extinct. Fun fact, there are around 1 million axolotls in captivity, which is how we got most of the footage for this video.